Hello everyone, Renee here. In this video, I will talk about the past, the present and the future of DayZ. I can write a book about DayZ's development, and there is probably a lot of information I'm skipping over. All of this is my perspective and other people's opinions may differ. You should probably look in the comments for those. DayZ has now been released on PC, Xbox, and May 29 it has also been released on PlayStation 4. A little bit later, Peter Nespesny, the lead developer of the game, announced he left the company. So what's next? Should we worry about DayZ's future? Let's first take a step back and have a look at the past of DayZ. In April 2012, DayZ, a mod based on Arma 2, was released by Dean Hall. It was a harsh, no-rule, open-world survival experience that paved the path for this whole new genre in games. He expected a couple of hundred people would play it, but at the start of July the mod had already seen over 400,000 unique players. Dean sold the concept to Bohemia Interactive and became the project lead of DayZ Standalone, which would be the game we know today. Since the start, DayZ has become the subject of delays and unmet goals. An infamous quote by Dean Hall on the Eurogamer Expo presentation is that DayZ has to be out by the end of the year of 2012.
I think probably every day someone posts on my Twitter, when is the standalone out? It has to be out before the end of the year.
DayZ Standalone was only released 1 year later at the end of 2013, which left a lot of impatient people hanging. The gamers were ready for this game, but the developers were not. In the meanwhile, a lot of other companies have tried to take on the challenge and created competitor games, but none of them were as successful as DayZ. During the development of DayZ, they have worked on a new engine, while keeping the game in a playable state. Most notable are the new renderer, the new scripting engine and the new player controller. When DayZ 1.0 was finally released in December 2018, there were still quite a few important features missing, but according to the developers, the core gameplay loop was there. The DayZ community was generally unhappy with that decision. They were expecting feature parity with the last patch that was there before the player controller was introduced. Patch number 0.62 and also a feature parity with DayZ mod. The last patch before the 1.0 release was patch 0.63 and therefore the players started jokingly calling the 1.0 release patch 0.64. Or what people also said, this is not my DayZ 1.0. So problems with the game were they launched with a limited amount of guns. There was only one vehicle. There were problems with base building. There were no helicopters, no boats, no bicycles. Only a simple health system and limited modding support. While most people acknowledged the game was in a fairly good place, it didn't feel ready to be fully released yet. A lot of DayZ mod players are generally unhappy with the vision the game decided to take, and they feel the game didn't meet expectations at all. This has, in my opinion, mostly to do with nostalgia, which some people disagree with, but also with pacing. DayZ mod you generally encountered more players in a shorter time due to the fact that the map was smaller. There were less buildings enterable, and there is also a lack of humanity system in DayZ Standalone. Since the player controller changed, some people think 0.62 was better playable than what we have today. While some things just aren't re-implemented because of design choices, I think that feature parity is most important in making these two groups more satisfied. It is kind of complex as there are many people and many different opinions out there. An example of this complexity is that a lot of people have put thousands of hours in this game but wouldn't recommend it today. As the ones who watch this channel know that I am personally more optimistic about the game in general. This is the end of my little recap up until the release. Let's talk about how things are now. Before the launch we received bi-weekly status reports from Bohemia Interactive, but after the launch of DayZ on PC, they kind of stopped doing that. Since that moment we have only released 3 significant updates. DayZ 1.01, which introduced 2 new weapons, new status/damage indication, track IR support, damage balancing and service performance and persistence fixing. DayZ 1.02 was released on April 3, 2019. There was a new car introduced, 2 new weapons again, a vest attachment, inventory improvements, and improved night lighting. And DayZ 1.03 was released on May 15, which had the new vehicle, the Gunter, 1 new gun and firearm melee, inventory improvements like turning items, and lots of bug fixes. DayZ 1.04 is yet to be announced. They said they want to release it on all platforms at the same time. It feels to me that they have been focusing a lot on stabilizing the game after launch and that they are trying to find a decent format in keeping the different platform releases at the same version. They've also put a lot of work in fixing character glitches and making sure the UI is more polished. The last 2 months, a lot more people on PC have been playing the game. More and different communities are popping up. Because of the modding, there is something to like for everyone. One wants a more hardcore experience and the other one just wants to shoot people. But the people who play are generally positive. A few days ago, the lead developer of DayZ has left the company. We saw mixed reactions from the community about this. Some people were sad and others thought it was good, as there have been some discussions between the community and Peter Nesmesny in the past. You can find questions and answers about some of these decisions in the Gamescom interview I released last year. If you're interested in this, you can find it linked on the top right. I feel Bohemia should communicate better with us about what is happening with the project, as we are currently kind of left in the dark. The only thing we heard the last half year was about the console releases and a few bits and pieces via Twitter. DayZ developers or other Bohemia employees, if you are watching, please communicate with us. We want to know what is ahead of us. Maybe not specifically about future updates, but about solving current problems of the game and game balancing. I don't really want to go in the nitty-gritty details in this video, and I'm sure people can generate lists of hundreds of problems, but my main problems with DayZ right now are it needs better balancing with base building, base raiding, loot distribution, etc. We need an advanced health system. We need diseases. We need generally a more hardcore experience. Bug fixing. The weight system is not working right. Raincoats are not working. Medical items have no use. That kind of stuff. We need better support for modders and server owners. Modders created a combined list of things they need and track. You can find it linked up to the right as well. We need Linux server support, as that will give us cheaper servers. And for consoles, server hopping and item duping seem to be the biggest problems. Even though there are all these problems and many more, I still believe we haven't seen the best of this game yet. I feel like every patch they have created something better, so I have no reason to believe this is going to be any different in the future. The future of DayZ is mysterious. People have been saying for years that the developers have dropped the game or that they don't care about the game. Having met the developers and looking at the patches they release, this is obviously not true. But the problem of communication I talked about before is something they can improve on. We need people who focus more about talking to the community, and we need transparency from Bohemia Interactive. What can we expect from the game in the near future? Is this still going to be supported? Seeing that it has been released on all platforms recently, I'm not too worried that they will stop supporting this game anytime soon. We are also still waiting for the Survivor Games project to be released, which was also an acquired concept by Bohemia Interactive. It was a hosted event that was basically a last team standing event of teams of 2. You had to move through different zones until you reached the last and smallest zone. This is also the concept that spiraled into the Battle Royale game mode later on by the famous PlayerUnknown that was first released on DayZ Mod, Arma 3 and later became its own genre in H1Z1 and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. More modding has always kept people playing in DayZ Mod and created an ideal game for everyone. So if the developers keep supporting and stimulating that effort, then I think it's going to be a long time that DayZ will keep a strong player base. If you look at a game like Arma 3, it has been out since 2013 and it still has 29,000 concurrent players at this time. I have no reason to believe the PC version isn't going that direction. For consoles, it's up to the developers to keep the game interesting. As long as the developers will keep pushing new patches, it will stay interesting for those players. I think that if they introduce private servers, there will also be more variety on the consoles, which is most likely something that will be supported in the future. In the end, it's all about balance. Developers enable modders, who enable content creators, who then on their turn give attention to specific patches, servers and mods. I'm pretty sure DayZ will then again spawn many new and already existing game modes, new maps and lots of other creativity that is enabled in this sandbox game. I hope you enjoyed this little past, current and future video. Please leave your thoughts in the comments and I will see you all in the next video. Stay safe out there and keep on surviving. Thank you so much for watching my video. Thanks to the people on Patreon and YouTube membership for your support, and I will see you all in the next video. Cheers.